Hey, good afternoon, everybody. It's Will here. As always, let us know what questions you have. Use it, raise hand, ask in chat, or ask in the Q&A section. Bit of a small crowd today, so if you guys got random questions, just let me know. All right, and go ahead, Mariah, what you got today?
Hi. So we are looking to upgrade probably the beginning of next year from version 6 to directly to version 8.
Okay.
I believe Eric said that was possible to somebody else on a call last week before, something like that. And couple questions. One, has anyone successfully done it out in the wild with a self-hosted installation? And two, how would we get assistance from decisions to work through that?
Has anyone gone from 6 to 8 yet? I don't personally know, but I'm also a bit I'm more disengaged from the day-to-day. I'm assuming so. I know we've had people upgrading. We have people running on 8 now for sure. But it's not a problem. There's nothing. The differences between 6 and 7 are starker than the differences between 7 and 8.
Okay.
7 and 8 are much, are much closer to each other than 6 and 7 were. So not a problem. That one's straightforward. But I don't have any anecdotes about people doing it. But we are, I'm sure, a few months out from having, from some absolute certainty, having some people having done that. But you don't need to do intermediate upgrades to keep current. We validate back at least 2 major versions for upgrades.
Okay, so that was a follow-on question. So we won't have to install 7 and then turn around and install 8. We can just do 8 right on top of 6.
Yeah, exactly right.
Okay.
And to your second question, it would just be through, normally we would just handle this through normal support. If you guys had a number of issues, we could assign you a dedicated support person to work through them. But it would just be, so the idea is you upgrade your dev server for the customer you're talking about from 6 to 8, validate all the things. Any issues you hit, we submit as support tickets. And if you hit an issue of some sort, and then we, can provide a patch fix or make that fix available in a new release cycle on that. But it's really the normal pattern for these upgrades is just to have a lot more support needed during that time. And if it gets out of hand or something, if we're not making headway, then we would assign a support person. We almost always do upgrades from more of a consultative or supportive type thing. If your team was looking to have it be more guided, we could look at using services for something like that, but that wouldn't be an area where they're a strong fit, or that they would often, they don't have a long history of doing like leading upgrades, since most of the work needed isn't in the actual upgrade itself. That's usually pretty straightforward, and at worst case takes maybe a couple of hours to sort out if something goes sideways. It's all of the regression and functional testing that you would need to do from 6 to 8 to ensure that everything is working the same.
Fair enough, but we had 6.10 to 6.19 bombed to the point that we needed intervention. So that's why I'm asking. And you would think that within 6 it wouldn't do that, but it did.
Sure. But I mean, we'd be happy to figure out if you guys needed something more more bespoke than that. I would. That's just how that's normally how the upgrades would go. If you wanted to, I mean, we could, of course, as we know, you guys are getting ready to upgrade. We could put together, recurring touch points, or have someone assigned ahead of time to support you guys. All those sorts of things. We're happy to be very flexible to do that. It's just normally we don't really have like a good upgrade support posture, since they usually, right, go fine, and there's no big issues.
Yeah. Okay.
Of course, anything can happen. Yeah. You bet.
All right. Thanks.
You bet. Happy to help. A couple other people have joined. We got a small crew today, so if you guys have questions about anything, just let me know.
I forgot I had another question.
Oh, please.
So, how much do you know about the e-signature additions? I can't think of the word. I'm thinking adapters, whatever. When you send something for e-signature, I'm guessing by default, it brings up a little window that says, please go sign this, and it sits there. And you can't really get rid of it. If you close the window, it seems to abandon the process. Or by default, it does anyway.
Are you talking about something similar to DocuSign right here?
Yes. We've tried it with DocuSign and OneSpan, and we have a similar window in both. So I'm guessing it must be something Decisions is doing, but maybe not.
And you're having an issue getting it implemented?
No. It works. So when you send the document off to DocuSign, so we have, it's going to send off to somebody, and then Decisions, I don't think the person designed this on purpose, but maybe she did. A window comes up that says it's been sent for signature, please complete before continuing.
Okay.
If you hit OK, that message just keeps coming back over and over again. I want to know if she did that on purpose and I can get rid of it, or is that something that's there by default?
No, that sounds like some kind of oddity in the design. Like, is it a Decisions form that pops up that you're talking about?
It doesn't really look like one to me, but that doesn't mean she didn't make an end form or something that I'm not familiar with. Because it's got a little green checkbox. It has a little green checkbox. You click it and it just keeps coming back. Well, when you send something in production for somebody to sign, it might be 3 days. You can't just sit there and look at that window for 3 days.
Yeah, there's nothing in our tool that requires it to stay open.
Okay.
It could be maybe that it's not, maybe it needs to be done asynchronously and it's not, which could maybe is right. I'm just guessing here, but maybe it needs to be put on a background thread to complete. I know it creates it should sit there and wait for it to complete, for a response back from DocuSign.
It does. And if you don't get rid of that window, that works fine. Then the document comes back. You can look at it, print it if you choose to, because some people will, and or save it where it needs to go. But if you close that window, the DocuSign part works fine, but it never comes back and tells you that it's been signed.
Yeah. I wonder if that's a regular Decisions form instead of an end form, and that when you're closing it, you're actually aborting the execution of the flow.
That seems to be what's happening.
So in that case, you would want it to be an inform, so that would just continue on. Allow you to say, hey, your thing's been submitted. You click OK, and then it just goes away. And the flow continues. Mm-hmm. You could quickly check to see if it's an inform or not.
Okay.
I think you should be able to see that on the property of the step, like form and form. Okay, step information. Yeah, inform wrapper step is the flow step type.
Okay.
Versus like, yeah, show form step.
Gotcha.
Could be that they need to use an inform and have used a regular form.
Okay, so if they used an inform and we have it currently designed that within the same flow, it comes back and brings you a different form, would we have to change that to like a new subflow with an assignment?
You shouldn't need to. No, the DocuSign step should have like a persistent behavior already, if I recall correctly. I haven't used those recently, but I know that it has to sit and wait. I think it uses like a version of our wait on external system behavior. DocuSign module. Right, so here is send document for signing. Okay, that gives us back an envelope ID. Get signed document takes in the envelope ID. I think there's a check. Yeah, get document status. Takes in the envelope ID. So yeah, you probably you need the flow to pause and wait while the DocuSign is completed.
It doesn't have to. It can be in a different form. That's just how the person designed it now.
It's been a while since I've used these, but looking at these, what you would do is you would use like send document for signing, right? And you'd pass in the information.
Right.
Now this is going to run and give you an envelope ID, so that means it because it has these outputs, it doesn't sit and wait. So you could send that, and then you have to kind of leverage you have to create some sort of other design. Now, one of them is like get document status. So it could be like something like a wait on external system step that runs, and it checks the document status inside of it's like a little auto trigger flow. And as soon as it's complete, it moves forward. That's one option. But if you're doing a lot of these, you don't want, it might make more sense to just create an assigned form and some sort of scheduled job to do the same thing. If you need the pause behavior at all. But these steps don't pause the flow at all. So you need to either leverage a normal assignment, or, oops, okay, because I didn't, good Lord, I didn't mean to do that. Here we go. Okay, there we go. Yeah, maybe possibly. Like, are you expecting to, if you're doing a lot of these, this would work, because in this wait on external system step, you get like a little flow, which you can see here in this autocomplete flow. And this lets you to wait on this could let you wait on DocuSign to complete. It runs a little like kind of tiny scheduled job. Gotcha. So you would send the document for signing, and then you would run in this flow. You would say like get document status, and you would check the status, right? And if it was completed, you would go to the end step. This screenshot is not great. Also, oh wait, hold on. I need to go to the next one. Here you go. This is inside of that flow. You see step not complete and account added. You add your own end steps here, but this thing runs on the time span defined here until it hits one of these regular outcome paths. If it hits step not complete, it doesn't do it just sits there and waits. So this could be like a DocuSign waiter. But But if you're having a lot of these, if you're expecting some amount of volume, I'd probably just try to bundle this all up into into a scheduled job and use a normal assignment to sit and wait, or wait on external system step, but not using this sort of this tiny scheduled job here. And what you would do, like let's assume you used wait on external system, you would then build a scheduled job. Like you probably would make a data structure and you'd save off like the DocuSign information into it, like the envelope ID, and then have a scheduled job that runs every few minutes. It fetches all of those for each schedule ID. It runs that get document status step, and any of them that are completed, it like sets the state and then causes this wait on external system step to complete instead of using this sort of hidden little flow here.
Gotcha.
That'd be a better large scale pattern if you're having lots of volume.
Okay.
But does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yes, it does.
Oh,
yes, that's very helpful.
Yeah, and then we talked about this with, I think, Jeremy the other week, but you can use steps like in the assignment service, like wait or process form assignment response. Yeah, completing assignments using API. And then this can give you an example of what a flow, it might be a good screenshot here. Yeah, of how you can complete an assignment. And wait on external system step is just an assignment at the end of the day. But you can leverage this step in this document here, this process form assignment response step. And that could allow you to have one flow that can interact with all of your wait on external system steps. So if you get into a state where you need to make some changes, you're just updating one scheduled job.
Gotcha.
And in that way, you could send a DocuSign. You would like show your inform, send a DocuSign, save a record somewhere to register the sent DocuSign step, and then to like a wait on external system step. And then you'd build a scheduled job that would be fetching those things and checking their status and then updating and progressing the parent flow accordingly. Hopefully some of this helps.
Yes, it does. Definitely. Thank you.
Good. All right, we got another question here. Hi, are you familiar with integrating decisions with electronic payment systems? I have no specific requirement. I'm just curious about the art of the possible. We've had a couple examples of this. But I think Jeremy, didn't your team, you guys connected to some payment service, I believe. Is that true? Let me let you. So answer live here. I haven't myself connected to any of them. Jeremy, did your team connect to one? Am I misremembering that? We have some modules.
Yes, we did. You guys helped us integrate with Braintree with a custom module.
Right. I think we have some like authenticate.net. I think we have some out of the box ones. I thought we had at least one. Plaid doesn't count, but Plaid had one. Some of these things can be, yeah. So yeah, we connected. Some of these things do require, because of the way that they don't expose like APIs, you require custom libraries. But realistically, it should just be, assuming they have an API, it would just be a REST service connection of some complexity. Alex, to your question.
On our proof of concept project that Decisions built for us, they had made one that use the PayPal API. Because that one, I believe, is exposed to just create the JS control form element.
Yeah, we could get you we could get a sample of I bet we have we have probably the sales engineering team probably has a project that has this in it. And I'm sure we could get you a copy of one of those projects.
Sure, that would be nice. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Let me
Open my email.
yeah, Missy, you work with Missy, right?
Yes, I do.
Okay, we'll ping Missy and ask her to follow up for you, man. I'm sure we can get you a
Perfect.
sample of a project that does it. Some of them do
Sure.
require custom libraries because they don't expose themselves as public APIs. But we've integrated with a couple different ones. We just don't have any. I thought we had authenticate.net. I guess that one went away at some point. I don't know why. I swear we had that ages ago. But yeah, we can get you a sample project, I'm sure, from the sales engineering team, or Missy can. That can help with that.
Thank you. Lovely.
Yeah, you bet.
Sorry, if there are no other questions, I have another one on something that came up, I believe, in version 8, called the designers in the studio. There's one that says create design pattern.
Yeah.
If there's time and there's no other question, can you comment a little bit on that?
Yeah, sure. I'm happy to. So let me create a folder here. It's August. That's hard to believe.
Mhm.
All right. So on a folder, we have a create design pattern. So historically, what you do with when you create flows is you go and create a flow. You might create some data structure, right? And then you define the inputs. You come to the flow here and you define the inputs to that. So here's string 1 and or string 2 and string 1. Right. And then that gives you your inputs. So your inputs are at the flow level. And so new flows have to have their inputs defined, either you could copy the existing flows or to get the default, to get the inputs that are already there, or you can add flow, you create new flows, and then you can create them independently. So design patterns are meant to change to bridge the gap between like rule sets, where all of the flows and the rules in a rule set get their input data from the rule set and not from themselves, and regular flows and rules. So if I come to my folder here and I create a design pattern, I can create this thing called design pattern 1. And then what I'm going to do is okay, I am not from, okay. I'm going to create string 3. I am not familiar with this designer at all. What? String 4. Okay. There's string 3 and string 4. I can do the same thing for output data here. I'll output an integer called just int out. View. There we go. Thank you. That's now I'm comfortable. I'm not sure what the diagram view there is helping me with. But now I've defined this design pattern, right? And if I look at the design pattern I just created, I see some inputs and I see some outputs. So this design pattern is an entity and it lives in a folder. So now if I go and create a flow, I'll name this thing flow 2, and then I come and I look at its inputs and outputs, it's going to have, if I use Data Explorer here, I can see string 3 and string 4 are inputs. And I can see on my output, I have an in out. So it's this flow or this rule has inherited those inputs automatically. Now, that's not really that clever at first, right? It's neat, but it's a time saving kind of trick. But when you leverage the design pattern with runtime selection, you get some really powerful options here to provide, one of the things we've been working towards as a product is really getting business users engaged in managing the business logic of a process. Now, we know as people who build in decisions that it's a lot to ask of someone in a tool as sophisticated as decisions, or at least as broad, that to have like, hey, you're gonna get like, that finance person to go make changes to their flow, right? That's we find that that's oftentimes not what happens, right? It's more about speed and delivery in terms of how fast we can build things, but we're still building it. But what you can get is some interesting things where you can create you can leverage this to create like these rule views. So let's see what this might look like. So I'm going to just create a project here, and this will be called rule project. I'll just call it rule project. Right, and now rule project, I'm going to create another folder in here. This is going to be called rules. So like all rules. Now on all rules, I'm going to create a design pattern, just like I did before. Just go to list view this time, and it'll be like income and age and state of residence. Should really fix my camel casing here. This will be an integer. This will be a decimal. Okay. And then let me go ahead and create a rule here. And then I can just write a rule, and I'll say if income, greater than, 100,000. So now I have this rule folder with rules in it. So what I'm going to do is come up here. I'm going to build, a rule project. I'm going to build a flow. This would be my main flow. What I'm going to do is I'm going to assume someone is entering in data, right? So I'll go create those same inputs here. Age, income, and what did I say? State of residence. Now income will be a decimal and age will be an integer. And what I want to do is I want to run all those rules. So I'm going to fetch element registration, which is where the rules get saved in the database, right? And I'm going to add a criteria. Excuse me, I'm not going to add a criteria. Forgive me. I'm going to specify their parent folder location, which is going to be the all rules folder, right? And then I'm going to for each that list. And then what I'm going to do here is this. So I'm going to for each my list. And then my rule here, I'll create a rule. I'll pick existing. I'll pick the rule I just created here. But what I'm going to do is under advanced, I'm going to change this from selection type pick to runtime selection, which gives me this new target ID input. I'm going to take this from item dot component registration ID. That's the ID of the object. And then I'm just going to create data step here for true and a create data step here for false and loop. What I'm basically going to do is have the flow be able to loop through doesn't matter how many rules there might be. Selected path is not valid. Mappings. So income, age, and state of residence. Okay. Let's see, does this run? Oops, let me try that again and put some data in here. So age is 30, income is 99,000, state of residence is California, Save a unit test here. Okay, what's wrong with us?
Maybe the ID, the registration ID is wrong. Didn't find it.
Attribute is compatible switch. I'm actually calling the actual rule that I passed in. I think. Hold on, let's see here. Input output data. I should have a single input data, right? Oh, I have two. Of course I have two. What are the two that I have? Defined rule behavior. There's rule one. Original. Oh, it's my backup, of course. This would be too easy to do that. So it's the backup of my rule, which is my problem. Element attribute. So I'll just do something just to get my point across. I'm gonna go to all rules. I'm gonna add a tag to my rule. Edit, advance, nope, manage. Tags out nowadays. Add setup, manage tags. I'll just call this run. Get a new tag called runtime and add it back to my flow here. And I'll fetch in here. I'll search for all tags and equals. Okay, yeah, and then I'll do runtime. What does that give me if I run this? Boom. My output is one item, which is now rule one. That's right. Oh, what's wrong? What's my example here? Instead that is supposed as a rule. If the return type is null, we must have a not specified path. The arrow will show the return type. I just want to turn. Oh, did I do a? Okay, well. Did I make output data on my thing? No output data. Result. Is this making me?
Yeah, we put a true or false there.
Let's.
It's weird.
I'm lost as to why this is doing this to me right now. In a step that is exposed as a rule, if the return type is null, we must have a not specified path. This error will show up. Okay, so that's a pretty clear error. Step that is exposed, so some have not specified. Edit rule. No missing results. No. Not specified. That means not specified. I'll just change the state of residence here from something to something. I think that's what it's telling me. Well, I'm not entirely certain of that.
Mm.
Oh, it's a data return rule. I just want a true false rule. It can't, something's broken here. All right.
Mhm.
Let's just,
Just
I'll
to the
just
end.
loop it. I'll just loop it. So either way, now if we have this design, something's wrong here, but we can run this, right? And then what I can do, if I can come here, come back to my rules, and I can add another rule here. It'll inherit the same information, and I'll just do, if age less than, basically building up a very custom, very flexible rule set design at this point. If I come back here and run, I should now get 2 executions that run through.
Mhm.
Oh, hold on. I don't, because I need to add my tag, add setup manage tags. Yeah, okay, well, whatever.
Exit of
But the idea here is now maybe I have a set of users who only have access to the rules. They can add, edit, write unit tests, and only build rules. And we can design a flow that just looks at those rules to run. And so we can get closer to the idea of a user managed rule setting, right? As opposed to building the logic into the diagram of the flow where we have true and false rules here. And as a user decides that they need to make a change, we can have that logic occurrence in situations like this and allow the users to manage that themselves in a much safer way than they can by actually interacting with the entirety of the flow diagram. So that's one of the things that, it kind of bridges the gap between a normal flow and a rule set flow, where they get it, the design pattern, it lets the flows inside of that design pattern or the other things inherit those inputs and outputs automatically, and gives us some really interesting flexibility from when we pair it together with runtime selection.
So in short, what confused me was the term design pattern. What we're doing is actually creating a data structure here that we can leverage from object to object, be it a flow or a rule or whatever, right? It's a data structure what I'm creating. That is what a design pattern is, correct? Hello?
Just 1 second, I'm sorry. And by our definition, it's not a data structure. Like, because it can be you could have a data structure be on the design pattern, but you're I'm probably just arguing from a technicality here. You are correct though. Like you're defining shared inputs and outputs for a set of objects. That can be a collection of simple types like I just did, or a flow structure or some actual decisions object. But it's that those things added underneath that or in that sort of the purview of whatever, like in the folder with the design pattern, they inherit those inputs and outputs automatically.
Perfect. Thanks.
You bet. Hopefully that terrible attempt at a demo actually helped.
No, but actually, I never thought of doing a loop on rules that are on a folder. And I didn't know, I thought that you use in the item, you call it the registration number, the element. Can you show me once again, just for learning, in the flow that you created, the fetch?
Element registration is the table where all the flows, forms, all the things you design, except for data structures. That's the table where those they live in.
So if you tell it to go to the all rules folder will find any element in that. So you have to be careful that there are only rules there,
Right.
not pass in the loop something that is not a rule, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and you tag the active ones with
Mhm.
the time.
Yeah, you could really go crazy. They have states. You could have your users be publishing and unpublishing them with right-click actions because of the state. Your flow just only fetches ones that are active or approved, right?
Mhm.
And then there's all sorts of other properties. Element registration is a big object that you could look at to identify the correct type of contents you're after.
Perfect. Thank you. This is
You
very
bet.
educational.
Happy to help. That takes us to 12:40. Anybody else have any other questions for us today? No? Okay. All right. Well, thanks everybody. Thanks for the questions today, and I will be back tomorrow. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you.
You bet, Alex.